Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next series topic on for market invention. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us. If you're joining us live or the recorded version, great to have you. Again, my name's Adam Vasquez. I'm going to be walking us through stakeholder ecosystems today, and there's a lot to talk about. We have an hour together, and for those who are joining us first time joining the Market Invention series, we try to do this once a week live, different topics, kind of compounding on different areas. In the future, we'll be bringing on some of my colleagues and other individuals to talk about deeper subjects in market invention and really getting into the depth of how to create your own market. You know, it's always exciting to have everyone here and have this conversation, and market invention, just perspective wise, has really given me a lot. So it's my pleasure to be able to give it back to all of you. And again, this course is free for anybody who's interested. And today we're going to be talking about stakeholder ecosystems. Now, it's really important to know about stakeholder ecosystems because market inventors, really, what are markets? Markets are communities coming together to solve pain or a certain problem. And when these communities come together, you really can't invent a market without stakeholders or that ecosystem. So it thought it was really important for us to dive into this specific topic about how to build stakeholder ecosystems. Now, bear in mind, this is one topic in a much bigger methodology or framework around market invention. However, this specific one is quite exciting. So we'll jump in. We'll talk about how to map it, walk you through some templates, some worksheets that I've developed over my time in doing this, and then if you have questions, we'll answer those along as we go. If not, we'll just keep going, and you'll get to hear me talk more and more. So let's just jump into it. So when we talk about stakeholder ecosystems, let's put it in context of the broader market invention life cycle. So market invention life cycle, again, has 4 phases if you're just joining us for the first time. And these are maturity. I would say they're stages of maturity. And again, first start is market opportunity, which we've talked about in the past, the invention strategy, to make the market, and then lead the market. And we will continue, if you're joining us live, we will continue to build on these content and get deeper and deeper into these different areas of maturity because there's so much to cover and so much to learn. Good news is we're going to jump into stakeholder ecosystems and how we do this. So market opportunity really, again, is just identifying the opportunity. Invention strategy is really defining what that invention is going to be. What is that market? Make the market is about educating and being in market, activating that market. And then leading market is once a market is mature, it's leading it into its next iteration. So where does stakeholder ecosystems play? Stakeholder ecosystems plays really in the invention strategy. Now, you certainly touch on it in the market opportunity phase because as you're identifying research and mapping the market opportunity, you should be jotting down the stakeholder ecosystem because this is where the data, the research is coming from influencers. So it really is done initially in the market opportunity, but really refined in the invention strategy. And honestly, it's continuously refined because an ecosystem is a living organism because it has people, human beings, and humans change. They change jobs. They come in and out of the market. They change what they like. So it's always evolving. It's always moving. There's people coming in and out of this market as their needs change or as they get older or just their perspectives change. So, and their belief systems evolve. So it's just really important to understand that this is always something that is a working document, a working thing that you are always nurturing. And, the other part to realize is once you start reaching out to the stakeholders in this ecosystem, you may find that the initial people that you identified really weren't part of the ecosystem like you thought they were. Maybe they're trapped in the legacy belief system of the legacy market and the market leader, or they're just not fun to work with. So there's really a lot of things that come into mind. So I mean, I think we said this earlier, but really the point here is an ecosystem is a community, a market is a community, market is an ecosystem. So without this ecosystem, you really don't have a market. You're just selling your products or you're on your own. And you can go far on your own, but you can go much further and much bigger together, and in sustainability perspective, because a market sustainability really comes down to the health of its ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, our customers feel vested? Are they buying it? Are they interacting with it? Are they helping move this market forward? Are your partners delivering what they need to on the value chain perspective? Are your team members, your employees? And I think actually team members is the wrong term for employees. Not that they're not team members, but thinking of the ecosystem, stakeholder ecosystem, everybody's part of the same team. So that's a different perspective than most people, certainly in stakeholder capitalism, which I believe I quickly mistakenly mentioned earlier. Stakeholder capitalism is really great as far as mapping out and interacting and making sure everybody wins in the ecosystem. That's spot on. However, it still looks at it from an external and internal team. And if you do this really, really right and authentic, you see your partners, your customers, as part of your internal team. And that's the level of transparency you have to be comfortable with moving forward. It's certainly, if you're listening to this and believe in karmic capitalism, that is even more true than ever before. So again, let's kind of remind ourselves, markets are ecosystems organized around solving pain. And before we jump into the worksheet, and we'll talk about each one of these areas, and again, like any of these templates and worksheets, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, or send a note to Merit and contact us, and we will send you the templates or anything that you request, because we just believe this is open source, and we're inventing our market around market invention. So we are using this for ourselves and for a community of people like yourself that are trying to do something big and trying to change the status quo. So we really are excited about anybody who's doing and fighting the good fight. So, we have the pain. Some people have said hope, whatever we want to call it. The rallying reason for being together is that central theme. And it's really important that you have a clear understanding what that is, and call it the market invention from this point moving forward. So that's a core belief. And with that, you have your customers, and customers are the people buying this from you, right? Obviously, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but there's different layers of customers. Certain customers are more loyal to this, that are evangelists, while other people are, passive participants, and it's okay. Employees, that's your internal team, right? These are the individuals that that decide that they want to help you with this purpose, to solve this pain. And and that's critically important. And then we have investors, right? So these are the individuals that maybe not participating other than giving you money and expecting some return, of course, but believe in the pain. But their best way to interact in the ecosystem is with their bank accounts, and that's perfect, because we need that too. And partners, so these are the value chain partners. So these, not just value chain, but there's multiple types of partners. We'll dig into that. But these are individuals that are either selling similar services or offering things that you need to be able to deliver your product or service. And so we're all in it together, the idea there. And then we have influencers, and we'll dig into influencers. But the influencers are really those that are have multiple followers, that are narrating and having discussions around the market, and really kind of challenge and discuss and have these broader conversations around the market, and influence, obviously, belief systems heavily. And then last but not least is government. And government is one of those things. It's like, we're here to help you. We're from government. We're here to help. That's like run as fast as you can. But, government, I have found, when it's done right, can be a really strong advocate and really help define the market through positive regulations. I mean, we're seeing this lack of regulations in the crypto space, and it's really hurting Bitcoin believers like myself. And the reason is because there's just a lack of regulation, and now we don't necessarily need centralized regulation, because that's the point of decentralization. However, it it is important to lay down the sort of laws, not the laws, but the rules of the game, so that we have the guide rails up, and we know and these regulations or policies or support, because they support a lot. And I mean, there's funding, there's a ton of government funding for startups and new ideas and really cool stuff. So they can be a partner in many ways and can be an investor. That just government is part of the process, and they help to mature the market, from a regulatory, put the rails up, so to speak. They're the refs and umpires of the game in many ways of saying that, but we'll keep going there. So what I want everyone to do is just understand this and start thinking through what are these ecosystems and what have you. And again, you can go as big as this or as small as this, meaning as big, worldwide, global domination, whatever you want to do, or you can stay very regional and local community based. It's really up to you, and it's there's no right or wrong answer here. So let's jump into kind of walking through these different areas. And so what we see here is the stakeholder map, and there's tons out there. You can go out there and look up stakeholder ecosystem map. I'm not saying that ours is better or right or wrong. It's just, this is just one perspective, and this is what has worked for me in the past, and this is a great tool for, obviously, market inventing. Because if you're inventing a market, how can you invent a market if you don't know the community or ecosystem that you're bringing together? So this just helps you just identify at least a starting point. So if you're early in the process, like say you haven't even done the market opportunity research, you may not have the market invention itself, but you probably have the pain identified, and that's okay to put in the middle. And here is just, it's subjective, and we can talk about how you research and find these different partners in these different aspects, and we will do that in a second here. But just don't feel daunted, like if you just don't know. And I think it's just to start and slowly evolve through each of these areas. And again, it's a hypothesis, because once you go out there, you're gonna and you meet the first person and have the first conversation. What most people realize is some of their first ideas were wrong about a stakeholder ecosystem. First off, second, they also realize that there are people that are really excited about this. So it works both ways. It becomes a filter, and you just continuously sifting it and refining this. So idea here, how to use the template. It's a simple template. It's really just a mind map exercise. Write down the customers, write down the employees, the investors, partners, anything, scribble all over it. And then it's about reaching out to these individuals and start connecting the dots. So let's talk about, obviously, the first thing is the name, market invention. If you don't have a name and you're in the market opportunity phase really early, that's okay. This is where you put your pain as well here. It is, think of this as the shared pain and the lens, the filter, the purpose, the rallying point for all of these different communities, or this community coming together. And if you're inventing a market, the community is fragmented, and it may be fragmented with an industry doesn't exist, right? Or it could be emerging, say talking about crypto technology, yeah, or blockchain or Web3 or AI is kind of emerging, or it's these individuals are either totally fragmented, or they're still organized loosely under an industry, an existing industry, say like automotive or government system integration, so government contracting. Pretty mature, established ecosystem around those belief systems. But remember what we said about belief systems is you're shifting belief systems within legacy industries. So there are individuals. So either way, even if the industry is established, the individuals are still fragmented around this belief system. And that is your job as the market inventor to organize and get excite and evangelize and start to pull together these individuals in these groups or these categories. So starting with that lens, that central lens, whether it's defined by a pain or you're far enough along in the process to say, this is the market we're inventing, like market invention, like what we're doing today. So, in market invention for us is, the belief system is, the difference. If you're a seasoned marketer who really is good at what they do, the difference between market invention and just regular old integrated communications or Marcom or any of that legacy marketing tactical stuff. So, really anybody who's in the market invention belief system really believes that market invention is the sort of framework, and anybody doing ad campaigns or anything that are not within this framework are basically spending and wasting their money because of the market follower paradox. And many of you have heard me talk about market follower paradox, but it's basically saying that if you're not the leader, anything you advertise or promote about yourself promotes you, but it also promotes the market, which promotes the leader, because the market, the legacy industry and or market, basically represents the leader's belief systems, right? Because they did this, right? They organized and created this ecosystem around them. So sometimes it's good for you just to join. If that's okay, you just join the ecosystem. If there's an established one and it's early, other times you may have to actually rally and bring people together around this belief system. But either way, it still needs to be mapped. So once we get to name, let's start talking about customers. So I put customers in sort of three general categories. You've got the first degree, which means your friends and family, so to speak. These are your colleagues. This is your existing network. Then you have your second degree, which are obviously connections of your network. And then you have the third degree, which is connections of your network. If you're use LinkedIn, this similar to how LinkedIn does this first, second, and third degree connections, actually quite similar and exactly the same, but thinking about this. And when you're starting from scratch, it's really important that you probably just start with the first degree sort of customers, meaning who do I know? Who believes this? Who have I had conversations with? How is this exciting? And those first degrees can be people you worked with in the past. They can be former clients, potentially, all sorts of things. So I think everybody can probably list 9 or 10 people they can start with. And when you're starting here, those are the people you start with. And obviously you have conversations about the pain, the market you're inventing, about organizing this. And they're great as far as establishing those second degree connections. And those second degree connections are critically important, because that's obviously how you expand past your known universe. And once those second degree connections come in, they're great because they're referrals, meaning it's a much more warm lead or conversation. And generally, when you have these second degree conversations, this is how it usually goes. Bill referred me to you. We did a warm introduction email, what have you, said that you're working on something similar or you're looking for something like this, and we're both in the similar belief system. Let's see how we can collaborate some way. The key here is just not to be needy, because this market, you've done the work, research in the work. This is market, this is a huge opportunity, and not that you should be arrogant about the opportunity, but be confident knowing that there is an opportunity, there is a community out there, and they, as much as you are looking for them, they are looking for you. So that's the kind of bold leadership you can go into these conversations. And for those who are looking for you, you'll know right away, because they will say, "Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. This is amazing. You're speaking my language. Nobody else gets what we're doing. I totally get it." And that's great, because that spawns more degrees and revenue and all that stuff. So it's really key in any market invention is to get initial traction, get revenue, and start proving and start building the market. And it starts a lot of times with these customers, obviously employees too, but we'll get to that next. Third degree is, so I would say, aspirational. So when you're looking, first and second degree are kind of referral networks, who connect the dots. The and you can look out at second degree connections, meaning especially on LinkedIn, looking at articles, companies that you believe that would be part of this market that could use and benefit, but are also sort of preaching the gospel of this market opportunity, this market invention. And you can, say they're connected. You can see them on LinkedIn and other networking sites. And I would just ask your first degree connections for a warm connection. And sometimes they don't have as warm as they are, LinkedIn, especially, I have over 6,000 connections, and honestly, I don't have a personal relationship with each of them. But who knows? So you can still be very proactive in identifying strategically who those second and third degree connections are. The third degree connections are even more distant, but those are the companies that I would say, again, to what I said earlier, just repeating myself here, are really just those companies that are of interest, that you've read articles on, that you believe that have this pain, that a potential. So those are the potential big customers, or even some smaller customers, depends scale and what you're doing. So employees. So employees, a similar model, right? A startup market invention, usually you start with your first degree connections, people and a lot of times it's a group of people, maybe 2, 3, handful of people that are like, let's start something together. We agree this is a big issue, this is a big pain. But it's no different than recruiting customers, and in many ways. So you're still finding and talking your first degree leads to the second degree, and recruiters and headhunters can help you with the third degree connections. But most important, it's about creating, any stakeholder ecosystem, and building it is coming from a place of power. And what I mean by that is not power in the traditional sense, but power from a higher vibration. And this goes to some of the karmic capitalism values. You never want to go into these relationships being needy. You always want to come from a position of strength. Even if you are not from a position of strength, you still want to come from a position of strength, and you've got to basically trick your subconscious mind into that and vibrate at a higher vibration. So what I mean by that is, when you put intent, you actually find employees finding you. Because remember, just like customers, if you've done this right, identified it, and you're staying in a sort of a high vibration, so to speak, or not, just stay positive, then you will find people find you in very synchronistic ways. And how you can do that from employees, recruiting them, we can talk about that. But basically, it comes down to content. We'll talk about that later. But you need to be a beacon on the hill for both customers and employees. And I think for the whole stakeholder ecosystem, a beacon on the hill, a breath of hope, and people will attract to you because they believe in those same things. And again, you're symbolizing overcoming, or that belief system, and overcoming that pain through that belief system. So again, take note, write down as many employees as you think, and the roles. Obviously, you need to understand what roles you have. But again, looking at it and having that filter is really important. Investors. So investors are always important in this, even if you are self-funded, because getting to scale and growing and what have you is important in any of this. I mean, again, you can stay small, but if you're certainly going bigger, having investors is important. And why not? Because investors are trying to solve the same challenges you have. They're just trying to solve it. You may be developing a product or service, and they're trying to use their capital. So bring them in, make them part of the process, embrace them. And if they're aligned to the purpose like you are, you'll find the right investors. I'm not saying that you go out and take anybody's money, just like customers, but looking through this lens, you will find the connection. You guys will be on the, again, karmic capitalism model, be on the same frequency, literally, and you'll find it exciting. So I break it into 3 groups. There's so much information out there. You can call this however you want, but the F and F is friends and family. Then you have individuals, angel investors, venture capitalists, these kind of individuals, high net worth individuals. And then you have institutions, and institutions could be private equity companies. They could be banks. They could be family offices. These broader financial institutions, like which are back to basically banking. These are more the structured corporations around investors. Also, again, government is an institution that invests, as well as academia. Universities do invest in startups and ideas, as well as associations. So again, depending on what you're looking at, you basically have the individuals, and then you have the big groups of people, and all of them are effective. However, institutions can be a little bit slower in adoption because they just have so many people they need to the bureaucracy. And it's not necessarily because they're bureaucratic. It's just because they have a lot of stakeholders they've got to bring in to make decisions. So, and depending on the institution, some are faster than others, but they have a stakeholder ecosystem as well. But there's big money in institutions, so definitely consider institutions. And if you find an institution organization that is aligned to this pain, great. You can really jumpstart and accelerate things. Individuals are, individuals, right? So like we said, they're venture capitalists, high net worth individuals. You can find these individuals, again, similar through first, second, third degree, reaching out to the friends and family, individuals you may know. If you don't know anybody, it's great to reach out to investment bankers, or there are companies out there that are sole purpose is to connect you with these individuals. So there are consultants out there, and not all consultants or individuals or investment bankers are created equal. And you need, again, take it through the lens of the market invention and the pain you're creating and belief system to match make in that process. So jotting down, finding articles, researching articles on this, see if the private equity companies or these investors have thesis on these, because it's all public domain now. A lot of this is public domain, and the internet, you can find most of this stuff. So, but start friends and family. If you're not comfortable with inviting friends and family in, then individuals in your first degree network, all of that. So similar to customers and employees, not much different, but similar model, just kind of organized differently. But write that down, and that's important. Now we have partners. So depending on where you are in the process and your maturity, depends on what partners you want to bring in and who you talk to. So value chain partners are just that. So for those who have not gone to business school and learned about the value chain, it's the idea of my total experience, soup to nuts, the supply chain, the whole thing, all the companies working together. In many ways, this is a value chain in itself, the ecosystem. But if you're making widgets, you need materials, right? May need raw materials, and those are value chain partners. That partners are interesting because sometimes not all partners are going to share necessarily your pain or value prop, or not your value prop, but your belief systems. Now, not on an unethical way. I say definitely don't work with anyone that directly conflicts with integrity, accountability, ethics, all of that stuff. But when it comes to how you solve the pain and how you're doing it, I think you have a little bit more flexibility in this. You know, we really only like to work with karmic capitalism based partners and partners that understand market invention, because in our value chain, we want to make sure they're delivering and understanding how to execute on this broader framework and strategy. Say we bring in search optimization people or media buying people if we don't have them in house, or we bring freelancers in all the time. It becomes hard to work with them if they don't really understand or believe in the value belief system. But you can have some flexibility here. uh Competition, again, depending on where you're coming from, competition is actually collaboration in this with this regards. In market invention terms, which is a more of a karmic based model, competition is a scarcity lack belief system, meaning somebody's going to take something from you. And if you're all working together and helping to build something together and just give options, competition is usually different flavors of the same ice cream. So, someone can believe in your belief system, but they may not necessarily believe in sort of the execute or the personalities or what have you. Relationships. Maybe you have an account person, they like the competitor's account person better. It's okay. There is enough for everyone, and this is not a lacked universe. So we really need to look at this differently. And competition is not competition; they're collaborators in this process. The only downside of this is why I don't say you initially start here is that, and they can be referral sources, right? They can be great referrers, good partners in these competitive sort of scale. But I would say a lot of times, not everybody believes in the karmic model. So competitors will still hold information back from you. They won't be as open as they need to. They may sabotage you. So you just have to be careful. And intuitively, you need to read the relationship and who the operators are in that competitive business. What are their motives and their intent, that kind of thing. Know that, again, this is abundant universe. If they're negative and they're going to try to take you down, it will hurt them in the long run, and they will never win. But playing the high road is always the best road. And just thinking about that. And then the institutions. So again, institutions can, be government specifically, but I look at this as, associations, academia, um, a lot of different things. And it's up to your creativity to figure out what that is. So if you're, for us, academic institutions have been really good partners with their innovation labs and connecting with them and helping teach their entrepreneurs. um, First, it helps the entrepreneurs grow and build great companies and great market ecosystems. Uh, but it also gets our message out there and brings more people into our market, making our market and, frankly, our partners and our ecosystem stronger by bringing more parties in. So it's really key to look at that. Now, and when you reach out to partners, again, you're gonna know some of them based on just, you're gonna have to buy stuff from them for this, identify that, but really try to build these win-win relationships. And what you'll find with partners that are really part of this effective part of this process is, they'll help with cash flow. We may even loan money back and forth, whatever else, because you guys have a vested interest, a shared interest on making this successful, because your businesses depend on it. And if this is a high growth market opportunity for a supply chain partner, this could be a whole new product line or a huge expansion. It can double their business. And that happens all the time. It happens all the time. There are a lot of companies that were supply chain partners to the big automotive manufacturers back in the 50s, when these American auto manufacturers started going to Europe, or appliances or what have you. And what happened was they pulled their relationships and their partner vendors with them, their value chain partners with them, and it quadrupled their value chain partners businesses over, not sometimes overnight. So again, really key here. Partners are part of the team, and you really need to bring them in and bring them fold them into the market. Now, influencers. Okay, this is a fun topic. Influencers are really three categories. I would say there's industry influencers, there's mega influencers, and there's institutional influencers. And the institutions are kind of tied to industry usually. Again, you can go back to government or some broad-based like academics that are span multiple. They're maybe not mega influencers, meaning like an Oprah Winfrey is a mega influencer, but they are institutions that they still drive a lot of influence, and they could be partners too. So if you're in IT or in marketing, analyst firms could be very important. But be cautious because these analyst firms are also trying to create markets around their belief systems, and they want to charge you because that's how they make their money. And so sometimes it makes sense not to go with the big analyst firms like, say, a Forrester, a Frost and Sullivan, a Gartner. Instead, find these smaller emerging, maybe industry specific and emerging industry, or people that are put analyst firms together around this pain and bring them in as far as influencers. And that can happen, obviously. So, and you want as many people talking about this market and putting you in context with this market as a partner in this market as possible. Media as well as institutions. Like if you're a financial company, CNBC would probably be a good institution to reach out to. Again, but they're established, and you may not have be able to offer them anything other than maybe a new conversation, which sometimes that is enough. From a PR perspective, a market invention story beats any sort of add-on Me Too story all day long. So you're successful with this, everybody will be talking about you, and everybody will want to have these conversations. So industry influencers are like industry analysts. There's individuals out there, and they're also part of these institutions. So like a Gartner, build relationships with them one-on-one. Analysts are people. They like when you're like what they like, and they're always looking for an edge, like finding something new that nobody else is doing because it makes them more valuable. Now, mega influencers are probably the hardest to reach and influence, for the only reason is they're multi-industry and they really have their own agenda. But mega influencers are still people, and they have belief systems too. And a lot of times celebrities will glom onto a belief system, and then you can leverage it. As an example, Papa John's Pizza. Shaquille O'Neal is an owner of Papa John's franchises. So I don't know what kind of deal he gives them, or he still charges them full price for their TV spots, but he's such a great ambassador to that market and that belief system of, fresh ingredients, fast, fresh ingredients, that kind of thing, pizza. And it really works. But it was, because he believed in the belief system, Shaquille O'Neal, that worked that way. So you can find it. You can find really good sponsors. You can find great influencers that if your belief system is powerful enough and compelling enough, meaning the market and the pain you're solving, you won't have to pay the same prices as everybody else for influencers, and maybe you won't have to pay any. So it's such an advantage. Now, and last but not least is government. So when you're writing down a government, and real quick, before I jump into government, just one last thing about influencers and where to find them. Influencers you can look them up on YouTube, LinkedIn, articles, industry articles, look up the writers, these kind of individuals. And if there is an established market, it's looking at the actual industry itself. Now, if you're looking at a regional market, chambers of commerce are really good at finding institutions and industry influencers. You're not going to find mega influencers there. And you generally don't find big business there, but you will find small mom and pops, regional businesses and banks and other things. And it's a great starting point if you want to expand your network. However, you will outgrow if you're trying to look beyond a regional market. You will outgrow the chambers and such because they're just really focused on the micro community, and most of the time, um, they're really not thinking it bigger or better, and not that they're bad, good or bad. It's just be aware if you have plans on going much bigger than a region, uh, they can help, certainly if it's a collection of regions, but most cases they won't be able to help you beyond that. And you won't be able to help them because it's not about you taking all of, taking. It's about giving more than you're taking. So giving more than you receive. So now we have, last but not least, is government. Government is either at the local, state, or federal level, depending on scale. And state senators, congressmen and women are great. Local government is also, municipalities, county government seats. It, depending on what you need. I mean, if there's a big enough pain and issue, and you're really trying to solve it, and you pull them in, uh, chances are their constituents in their district are experiencing this pain. And if it's something large enough that they can help with, like something around poverty or something community related, they become huge advocates of yourself, of what you're doing. In fact, they help to, in many ways, lobby for you for rules to make them more beneficial for you, regulation. They also become huge mouthpieces for you in the market itself. And connectors, they're great connectors because that's what they do. They got to get votes. So they know just about everybody who's influential in the business community that you might need, from a partner, an investor, customers perspective, influencers, or employees. So there's a lot of value here, but just know that it's not, you need to support them in what they're doing. And that's where you need to identify, uh, you know, politicians and civil servants that have, not an agenda. Everybody kind of has an agenda, but has a shared interest, and you're helping them reach their goals, because stakeholder ecosystems always is about how you're going to achieve your goals together, and how do you help each one of these other category groups of people achieve their goals. If they're employees hitting personal wealth or personal purpose, like, that's important. Customers solving their problems so they can make more money and be more profitable, or what have you, or solve the pain of the world. Government, deliver the platform that they said that they got elected for, right? Investors, giving them the return on investment, or a place for them to make their money do good for what they want to from a philanthropic perspective. Influencers, making them more influential and giving them value to giving them a new idea or something more specific, or what have you, that helps their audience. And partners, obviously, it's sharing the love and everybody winning together in this process, right? So, and again, revenue, and they have their personal. So understanding the individuals, but motives, but as a tie together for a shared belief system. So let's get into sort of behaviors, right? And we have a couple slides left in a few more minutes, 15 minutes left. So obviously, if you have questions, please drop them in here, and I'll answer them or keep going. So beyond mapping the stakeholder ecosystem, it comes down to some behaviors and actions. There's tons of other behaviors that you can focus on, but let's consider these for the conversation. So first, open-minded. Now, I'm not saying anybody else in the ecosystem will have these behaviors, but that's what you're looking for in your ecosystem. You're looking for people that are open-minded, meaning competitors that are open-minded. You're open-minded competitors. Well, like, why wouldn't you be? You should. You have to let go of those limiting beliefs or things that haven't worked out in the past. I'm not talking about dumping your wisdom, because wisdom and experience does matter. However, sometimes it can get in the way. In the past does not mean it will happen in the future, only if you bring it forward. So keeping open-minded to opportunities, to ideas, to tweaking even your market invention or even the name. It really comes down to your open collaboration, and you're building this together. So that teamwork is really important in that open-mindedness. Positive intention. Okay. Your intention should be pure. Now, not everybody's intention is going to be that way, but you should be, and meaning that I'm here to try to solve this pain. I believe this, we can solve it. We can make a big difference. All of us can make money. All of us can make a huge social impact. Let's do it together. I will always try to be positive, and I always make my intentions as such, meaning I will not have a scarcity, fear-based intent in what I do. I will make decisions based on abundance and what's our best shared interest as well. Not saying that you shouldn't look out for yourself. You should, because there unfortunately are people that will take from you. And if you keep letting them, they will keep taking from you like vampires. So just be aware of that. And I wish I could tell you that you won't run across these individuals in this process, but you will, but you will find out, and you might get burned from one, but it doesn't mean everybody's this way. So it's really important. That goes authenticity. So authenticity is critical. There is no more room for faking it. You either believe it and the belief system's intact, and you're going to be a warrior of this belief system and getting up there on the hill and waving the flag, or not. People will see through it. Win-win collaboration. This is the teamwork. Win-win collaboration is so important, because this is what it's about. You need to add more value than you're taking. And sometimes it may feel like you might be leaving money on the table, or maybe you overpaid a little bit from the deal you could have gotten, but that ends up burning it in the long run. And it really needs to be a win-win collaboration, because it does come back to you. And that goes to transparency. Now, I'm not saying you share all of your numbers, all your books, and if something's not working and you're on the ropes and you're trying to get customers, I'm not saying you're like, well, come work for us, we can go bankrupt someday. I'm not saying that, even if that's a big fear of yours. But I am saying that you need to be open and honest with your intent, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, what you believe is the win-win, and again, open-minded to what they want to do and what they want to achieve, and bringing that together. So, and because this is, this isn't, I don't have it listed here, but it really is about merging everybody's goals and desires into a shared purpose, and an organism, going from a single cell organism to a complex multi-cell organism, which, by the way, is what we are as humans. Our bodies are multi-celled, multi-organisms. We have bacteria. We've got all sorts of cool stuff working together, and it creates this miraculous vessel for our consciousness. So, and it couldn't happen if we didn't share our belief system, so to speak. So, and then responsiveness. I think this is just in general good for everyone to follow, but be quick, be on the move. They respond to you, you respond to them quickly, and you keep the conversation going. Just remember, you're the one reaching out. It in some ways there is some force here, but really coming from a power place, meaning a place of abundance, and not from a force and a scared, I got to do this or this isn't going to happen. You're running and doing and running scared. We're talking about coming from a place. You still have to do things and be responsive and be, quick in the return. If somebody sends you an email, if you're in a meeting, totally get it, but try to be responsive as quick as possible, because people will respect that, and you'll get traction faster. And then that goes to follow through. Anything you commit to, and I get it, sometimes you commit to something and something macro changes and it's totally out of your control, and you wish you hadn't promised it, but there's nothing you can do. It's totally out of control, and you might have to go back on that. That should be the exception, not the rule. Follow through is doing what you say you're going to do in a timely manner, right? And that goes to responsiveness. So these behaviors are really, really critical. And so then not just behaviors, but actions, right? So what are the actions you're going to take? Initially, you're going to have to reach out. You're going to have to do a lot of the lift. And that's just how it is. But eventually you get to a critical mass in a place where there's enough content, there's enough out there, and there's enough media and everything else. People will start coming to you. And then responsiveness and all of that other stuff plays here. But you have to reach out and add value, right? And value means something different for everybody. And it's up to you to determine that. A lot of times just asking somebody, saying, hey, what's something that you're working on? And you don't want to be that generic. You want to talk about the market in a conversation. If it's a first or second connection, that's where you should start. And the third connection too. And then you talk about ways you can collaborate and help each other. It should be a very sort of conspirator sort of collaboration. So then if we keep going, then we look at, we got to develop the market point of view. And that is up to you to develop the market point of view. And the point of view is literally, and we'll get into this in other episodes here, but it's just your belief system. Codify it, make it a little bit crystal clear, you developing it and getting it out there so other people can find it. And, when these conversations, you need something to say, hey, this is what we're doing, even a leave behind. Here's an intro email. Here's our point of view. This is what we're doing. I always like to say the Declaration of Independence is the greatest point of view ever created in many ways. I mean, there's certainly in religious perspective, there's great documents that have been established, but from like a one-sheeter, why are we here? What are we doing? U.S. Declaration of Independence is a great point of view. And then content development. You need to create breadcrumbs so people can find you. So you're no longer having to go out and reach out to everyone, because even when you do reach out to other people, the minute they see you, if there's something interesting, they're going to go out and search on you. So you have to create these breadcrumbs, this map, this content, so that individuals can do their own research and come up to decide. And what happens eventually, again, what I said earlier, is you will have to, as more content, you create more content and put it out on the internet, and more people will find it, the less outreach and less work you're going to have to do. And more people are going to start to find you and attract you, whether they're customers. Your ecosystem is going to come together. So this is a way. So think of it, if you're a beacon on a hill, content development in the content and your conversations and podcasts like this, or podcast training like this, gets out there so people can see it and people will come to you. So they'll say, oh, I need this, or yeah, I agree, I can help you, or I want to work for you, or I know a person that needs this. Like it happens that way. It just happens. Oh, I would like you to speak to our team about this. And it gets exciting. And this is when you really start to get traction. And then events. So that goes to speaking engagements, right? So speaking engagements, go out there and talk. Go out there and talk about this. And if you're not very comfortable in speaking engagements, then you can do a podcast without being on camera, or you can do something like this on camera in your safety of home. If you don't like crowds or speaking to large audiences, this is much more comfortable than that. But you do need to get it out there into the sort of masses group if you're going to recruit and bring people towards you. And then events. Events is a couple things. You can create events, which I highly recommend, is create, depending on what your skill sets or talents or strengths are. Like we talk about in market opportunity mapping, what are your strengths? Know your strengths. You can organize events. You can do meetups. Depending on where you are, you can collaborate with chambers of commerce or other institutions to do events around this topic. And they're always looking for these type of great events. So it's really a lack of creativity if you can't find organized events. But events are critical because it starts to bring everyone physically together, whether it's virtually or in person, to talk about this. And this gives you a platform then to bring in other partners to talk about what they're doing, even competitors, and they'll bring their customers in, and it will be wonderful. And you guys will get together and solve these big problems together. And I say relocate is last, but it's certainly not least. And there's other actions you can take, certainly, sending out that first email. But the key is reach out, like just do something. And then you're going to learn, you're going to get more feedback. And this is an education process. And you're going to find who's in from your first, who you thought was the ecosystem and who's out. Sometimes you're going to need to relocate physically. Now it's less important with virtual and digital nowadays, and with COVID and what happened there, what allows us to telework more and be more virtual. But honestly, if you're a software developer and you're looking to raise a ton of capital for this new software project, Silicon Valley might be exactly where you need to be. And you need to be willing to relocate to do that. If you're in a government contractor and you're trying to be a government contractor from California, a federal government contractor, you're missing out on so many opportunities not being in the Washington, D.C. area, which is where all the other system integrators are. So you just doesn't mean you have to relocate. It just be willing and open-minded that you might have to. And being prepared. And then that's the question of, like, how much does this really mean to you if you're not willing to physically move for your dream? Because a market invention, that pain, that's your dream. And that's really important. And everybody, I hope everybody has an opportunity to live their dream. So from actions, we covered a lot of stuff. We covered what is a stakeholder ecosystem, how to map it, how to identify, even some ideas at how to reach out. And we can get into deeper. We will get into deeper, we will get into deeper of how to network, how to emails, send out cold emails, how to reach out to media, all of this, because it's my commitment, and really Merit's commitment to all of you, is we just want you guys to be great market inventors. We're students of this too. We can certainly help people do this, and we do. We have a business, we get paid for it, and it keeps the lights on and allows us to keep pursuing our dreams and help other people with their dreams, and we'll continue to do that. But we want to give this gift. So with that, I recommend really three or actually four major books. Obviously, Toothfish, read that. That's great. There's another book that's not on here, The 4 Agreements. If you can look that up, 4 Agreements, and we'll put that in all these books will be listed in the YouTube information feed for future reference, as well as LinkedIn. Toothfish, I obviously recommend it. If you're jumping in market invention and you haven't read Toothfish, it's really the first book that outlines this and brings it together. Obviously, I'm biased. I wrote it, but it's really critical. Dale Carnegie, great piece, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think this is one of the best networking, personal relationship, self-development books there is. The Go-Giver, incredibly powerful book. And that's really about giving more than you receive, and the point of giving is the point of giving. That's the reward, not to go into anything with expectation. And Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell, which is a more recent book. And that book is a great point about basically you just need to trust people, and how to trust people, and how even the experts like CIA operatives and everyone else have been fooled by people. And without trust, we don't have anything. And stakeholder ecosystems is about trust. It's about trusting each of us and our partners, and building something beautiful and coming together as a community, a market community, an ecosystem of stakeholders that really want to see this purpose and move forward. So with that, I thank you, every one of you, from joining me today. If you've joined me through the live recording or the recorded version, please reach out. Any questions? I'm always here and just love helping other market inventors like yourself. And I hope you found this helpful as far as mapping and building a sustainable stakeholder ecosystem so that your market invention can thrive and a lot of other people can thrive with you. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.